Hey everybody, welcome. I like to do interviews with real estate investors who are actually out there taking action and doing it. And so today I'm honored to have Mr. Jim Kennedy. Jim Kennedy's a client of Rent Ready and a personal friend now, and we've done a lot of real estate together. And he is someone who's really out there taking action every month, doing deals. And he even heard a rumor that your goal this year, one of your goals, is to flip 25 houses.
That's correct.
So I thought our viewers would be interested to hear how that's going and how the current market is. So without further ado, thanks for taking time to do the interview.
Well, thanks for having me, Brant. I really appreciate it. Yeah, my goal is to flip 25 houses this year, and I'm on target. I'm right on schedule, most of which you have rehabbed for me. So you're intimately familiar with the product.
Oh yeah.
And the market has changed, and with real estate, as you know, you can make money in a seller's market, and you can make money in a buyer's market. All you have to do is have the right strategies in place, depending upon the market that you're in at that particular point in time. And we are definitely in a strong buyer's market. It's the strongest buyer's market I've seen since the mid-'80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely has shifted a lot in the last few years. Each year's been a little bit different. Going back to 2007 was the end of a seller's market, transitioning to a buyer's market, but then it picked up a little bit with the tax credit, and when the tax credit ended, it totally dropped off. You heard the crickets chirping. But what I think kind of now, it's weird because even though you're right, it's definitely a buyer's market for sure, but the buyers have been either renting for going on 2-3 years now. Potential buyers, they want to buy, and they've either been renting or couldn't, or they're going through transitions with jobs. But the thing now is you sense like people want to buy houses. We have the biggest thing I think is a financing crisis. But obviously, you're still selling some homes.
Yeah, I'm selling homes. It's taking a little longer. Mm-hmm. The days on the market is longer now than it was as recently as 6 months ago. I also buy and hold. You talked about rentals. Mm-hmm. I'm building a portfolio of buy and hold. The flipping is my income. That's how I make my living. Sure. I buy houses, fix them up, and sell them to owner-occupant retail buyers, sometimes using owner financing to get that property moved. Mm-hmm. And then the buy and hold is my long-term wealth building strategy. Sure. So I approach both avenues, and both are doing very, very well. On the buy and hold side, we do a little bit different rehab than the buy and flip, as you know. And right now, real estate is on sale, so now is a perfect time to be buying and holding property.
Sure, absolutely. There's never been deals like we see them all the time, every day, and I talk to a lot of customers when I find out, what'd you buy it for? I want to know more about the numbers than I do, the rehab. And so yeah, there's just some phenomenal deals.
I tell people that right now the deal of a lifetime crosses my desk once a week.
Yeah, that's a good.
There's a lot of good deals out there.
Very true. And that's funny because I just got an email yesterday when I sent out a blog thing this weekend, and the gentleman said, this isn't true. You can't find deals like this. There's no way that you can flip houses in today's market. So I think I'm going to reply back and ask some of our customers who are flipping, and we've actually. It comes in spurts with it seems to come in spurts with contracts where customers will get contracts all like within, I don't know, sometimes like within a week we'll get like 5 or 6 calls from customers who have houses on the market that just got a contract. And we just went through one of those phases last month where we had boom, 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 multiple customers calling that got a contract. And several of them were the 1 week to 2 week kind of time frame, very, very quickly. So the other question, one of the big questions is always about finding deals. I think you're like myself, you mostly work with wholesalers and a few realtors maybe as well will send you deals.
That's correct. Brant, I know 42 ways to find motivated sellers, and I've actually made a list. I'm a list kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I focus on 2 of them. and that's buying from wholesalers or through realtors. And I've got sufficient deal flow to keep me busy using those two resources only.
Sure.
Now, I've done lots of other things in the past, but I got to a point where in my business model now, I want to outsource as much as possible, including the acquisition and the rehab by hiring folks like rent-ready contractors. And then on the disposition side, I always hire a realtor on the back end today, in today's market. Now, 6 years ago, that was different. But now my business model is outsource as much as I can. And I basically do three things. Number one, I evaluate and select deals. Number two is I oversee the process, and I've got professionals every step along the way, including yourself as a general contractor on the rehab side. And then number three, I raise the money. And that's all I do. In fact, that's why I'm wearing a suit and tie today. Normally, I'm dressed just like you are, very casually. Yeah. But today is money-raising day.
And I forgot how to tie a tie. So. Well, in order to grow, and that's what I think a lot of people, they have the do-it-yourself mentality. And that's fine, and that's one strategy, but you can't grow. You're going to kind of stay at that same level in order to grow. Essentially build and grow a business, what you're doing, a real estate investing business. You have to build a team and outsource and, kind of do less to make more kind of thing. And I've definitely seen that in your business model, that you can become very proficient about building a strong team around you. So you also mentioned about raising the money, which brings us to another big topic that people like to talk about. And I've raised a little bit of private money myself, but you are becoming quite the expert and kind of man that everybody is probably calling you now and asking what kind of some things that you've done. So I'd kind of like to just share with people what you've done and how you kind of go about it without giving away all your secrets. So.
Well, Brant, there are no secrets.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's very simple to raise private money. It's not easy, but it's not complicated.
Right.
I use a 7-step method to raise private money, much the same as you teach in your raising private money boot camps. Mm-hmm. And I use a lot of the same strategies that you talk about. I've been very fortunate. I don't call myself an expert, but I've been very, very lucky over the last year to raise a little over $4.5 million, the availability to access $4.5 million worth of private money. And it's very simple. I use a 7-step method, and it just takes a commitment that you're going to do the steps, follow the steps, and take action. The taking action is critical. I've actually shared with several people how to raise private money the way I do it. It's very duplicatable. And the ones that are doing it, that actually take action and take the steps, they're finding the resources. The ones that take the training or take the suggestions that I give them and then don't take any action, they don't raise any money. It's fairly obvious.
Yeah.
You're not going to raise money unless you take action.
Yeah, when I did a deal with my first private lender, that was my first thought. I was like, this is incredibly easy. And then I did another one and another one and another one. I'm like, I don't know if anybody knows how easy it is. And I use the word easy. You just have to do the steps. It's just like a lot of things in life, it's not that difficult when you just do it. It's just a matter of commitment, like, say, exercising or do anything else. If you just do it, take those few little daily steps, you'll get the results. And then a lot of people will do step 1 and 2, but it's with raising private money, it's kind of do step 1, 2, 3, wash and repeat, and you kind of need to do it over and over. But they're very simple steps to do, and that's where I think people don't realize it, and they'll take the class but not put it into action. And so that's what I've seen the same thing as well. Okay, well, you threw out the 7 steps, so they're probably going to get mad at me if I don't ask what your 7 steps are.
Step 1, make contact. My only objective is to pique interest. I just want to get somebody interested in talking a little bit more about what I can do to help them earn above average returns with relative safety and security, backed by local real estate. Step two is I send an email. Step two takes me, maybe a couple of minutes.
And it's probably an email like I have that's just copy and paste.
Exactly.
Same email, change out the name and...
Exactly. And it's very simple, it's very straightforward, very to the point. People are busy. I don't want to put out a lot of spam. I don't want to clutter their inbox. I'm just going to send them an email letting them know that I'll call them in a day or two to see if we have the basis for doing some mutually beneficial business. Step three is the phone call. I make a quick call, get them on the line. First thing I do is ask about when we first met. Typically it's at a networking event where there's some sort of presentation involved. So I ask them what they thought about the presentation. Excuse me. And then I go forward, get right to the point. I don't want to take up a lot of their time. I don't want to be a pest. I just get to the point and ask, can we get together over the next couple of weeks and see if we have the basis for doing some mutually beneficial business together? Step four is the appointment. My objective on the appointment is twofold. Number one is to explain the process, explain how I can help them earn above average returns. And number two is to qualify the prospect. I've got 10 questions that I pose to my prospects to find out what kind of a deal is going to make them happy. Step five is when I have a specific deal. Now notice, up to this point, I have not yet pitched a deal. I haven't said anything about a deal until I get to the fifth step of the process. And this is when I present a deal to them. The reason I don't present a deal until step five is because private money lending and private money borrowing is all based on the relationship. Well, I want to build that relationship first, and I want to show them not only the return on the investment, but as you point out to your students, the return of the investment is typically more important to the private money lender than the return on the investment. Step six is we fund the deal. That's pretty simple because, I go to a title company. I close all of my deals either at a title company or in an attorney's office. I don't do any kitchen table funding, any kitchen table closes. I always use an attorney to draft the notes and deeds of trust, to draft all the loan documents to protect my private money lender. So step six is the closing. And step seven is at the end of the transaction. It's when everybody gets paid.
Right.
And that's my favorite step of the 7 steps is payday.
Right.
Now there is an 8th step. And the 8th step is lather, rinse, and repeat.
And that's
Go
it.
back. Now you don't have to start with step 1.
And then if someone tells you no, you just quit and give up, right?
Oh no.
No. Wait, you asked somebody else, right?
I asked somebody else.
Okay.
And I'll ask the person that said no, what is it about?
You asked for feedback.
Yeah, feedback.
Brilliant.
And I will ask for a referral. Well, if this doesn't fit your personal investment objectives, maybe you know someone who is looking to earn above average returns. Maybe you know someone who got clobbered in 2008 by the stock market downturn. Maybe you know someone who would like to maximize their return.
And one thing that I'll say about your approach is that you repeat the conversations, the phone calls, and the biggest thing is the networking. And you don't sell a deal, you don't pitch a deal, you try to establish a relationship, because it's really relationship-based lending.
Exactly.
And it's establishing a business, a working relationship that's mutually beneficial, just like you mentioned. And, if you study marketing research, it says we need to be exposed to certain marketing campaigns maybe 5, 6, 7 times. Well, what you've done and some other students have done as well is they go to the networking events on a weekly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. You don't have to do it that much, but even monthly. And what happens is people get familiar with you, and it might be you talk before the meeting or after the meeting, and you might say, here, this is what I'm doing, and they may not be interested now. But 3 months from now, 4 months from now, they see you again, exactly. And then that's how business gets done. It's relationships.
Yeah, you mentioned the going to the networking events. I'm a full-time real estate entrepreneur. It's what I do for a living. And I spend no more than about 5 hours maximum every week raising private money. And it's been, well, like I say, I've been very fortunate, and I've raised a little over $4.5 million in the last 12 months.
Impressive.
Well, it's because I follow those steps that you advocate, step 1, step 2, step 3, and I just do it. That's the key. Just do it.
Well, last thing, we're going to wrap it up. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you have a lot of information and just experience on working with other contractors before we even met, and some others that you've used with partners. So do you have just a couple of quick recommendations that you could give people on how to, I guess, safeguard having any problems with working with contractors, and 2, ensuring a good product at the end without getting burned?
Exactly. Let me start out by saying that contractors used to be the bane of my existence. They used to drive me crazy. Now I've got resources. My main contracting firm is Rent Ready Contractors, and I'll tell your audience exactly how I evaluated you, because when we met, I didn't know you from Adam. I didn't know if you were a good contractor or one of the schleps that was in the business. Right. So, number 1, you came with very good recommendations. You came very highly recommended by people whose opinion I trusted.
I pay people.
Yeah.
Speaking about it. Yeah, sure. It works like a charm. Yeah.
Number 2, I checked your references. Number 3, I checked your licensing. It's important that I know that that you have the appropriate licenses. Number 3, I checked your insurance. Now, by doing those 4 things, I think it gives you a level of confidence that you don't have if you don't do those 4 things. Now, when we first started doing business, again, I didn't know you from Adam. You had all these 4 things positive coming into the picture, but again, I didn't know you from Adam. So I was on the job site every day. The first contract I gave you to rehab one of my houses, I checked your work on a daily basis. Now, I wasn't checking to make sure that I was just checking to make sure you had workers there.
Right.
And I wasn't paying, because every day that a project sits costs money.
Sure.
Every day time is money, and in this business it can add up pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure that you had workers on the job site every day. Backing up, I forgot to mention, when we walked the project, you came up with some great ideas of how to do this, how to do that, what the market was looking for at that point in time. And knowing that you have some experience under your belt, I listened and I followed your advice. And then when the project was done, we walked the project. It punched out very nicely. I was very, very happy with the end result. When the buyer came along and bought that house, there were few little issues that is always going to crop up.
There's always going to be.
And because it's not a new house, it's not a perfect house. And you stood behind your work. You came behind and actually did what you said you were going to do, and then stood behind it and made sure that everything that the buyer requested was handled. Now, with you, and I'm not saying this is the way it needs to be, but from my perspective, I can now pick up the phone. We've got a good enough relationship. I can now pick up the phone and say, Brant, I need a bid for a job on such and such a street. You know what I want. Mm-hmm. I know what you deliver, so it's a perfect match.
Yeah.
When someone can get to that point with whatever contractor they choose, and there are lots of good contractors out there, but there's lots of schleps.
Yeah,
there's lots of schleps.
Yeah, and that's my main thing, because even being being owner of a contracting company, I consider myself an investor first. And I'm just a serial entrepreneur, so I'm always looking for business opportunities. So what I still encourage people to get multiple bids on projects. They don't necessarily, it depends on the relationship. I'll tell you, some customers will actually cause more harm than good by over checking the jobs, because I know you were checking on it, but you weren't calling and babysitting and nitpicking, which some customers will do, and they don't understand that it kills the energy of the workers. And so you have to make sure it's a trusting relationship, establish everything in writing. A lot of investors don't. They do handshakes or talk about things, and we're very big on getting things in writing, setting completion dates, and one of the biggest things I think you already mentioned is getting references from other people, in this business, other investors, and even asking with wholesalers and hard money lenders are good places to get resources. And with a lot of things in life, it's very easy to start things. It's very hard to finish things. And so in this business, you want someone who's not gonna burn out when they're 80% done, because it's the devil's in the details, getting all the final things done, finalized out. And so I think those are some of the big things. Well, I don't know how much time we have left on this guy here, so I think with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for sharing some great information, and just you're someone who's out taking action to do it, just telling people exactly what you're doing, revealing your 7 steps.
Glad to
I
share.
think it was a great interview. Let's end it with the little fist.
Cool beans.
Thanks a lot, Joe.